In a quiet corner of the city, a widow named Sarah believed a new chapter was beginning. Her son Mark and his wife Clara had just moved into a brand new apartment. They'd convinced Sarah to leave her spacious country home, promising a life of comfort and family togetherness. But the city air felt colder than she expected, and the walls of their modern flat seemed to close in on her from day one. But little did she know, her son and daughter-in-law had already decided there was no room for her in their new life, and a plan was already in motion to send her away. The breaking point came unexpectedly, cruelly, at her granddaughter Lily's birthday party. The room was filled with laughter and colourful balloons, but Clara's words cut through the joy like a shard of glass. She leaned close to Sarah, a smile on her face that didn't reach her eyes, and whispered, "Enjoy tonight, Mom. It's your last one with us. Tomorrow morning, we're taking you to the nursing home." The music seemed to fade, and the cheerful chatter turned into a dull roar in Sarah's ears. Humiliation washed over her, hot and suffocating. In that moment, surrounded by strangers celebrating a new life, Sarah felt her own life was being declared over. As she sat frozen, her mind drifted back through the years. She was a young widow, only 62 now, but she'd spent decades raising Mark all by herself after her husband's tragic accident. She remembered working 2, sometimes 3 jobs, her hands raw and her body aching, just so Mark could have the best education. She'd sacrificed everything, pouring all her hopes and dreams into him. And now this was her reward for a lifetime of devotion. Betrayal. It was a bitter pill to swallow, one that tasted far worse than any hardship she had ever endured. The party continued around her, but for Sarah, the world had stopped spinning. All she could see was her son's face, the boy she had raised. Now a man who was casting her aside like an old piece of furniture. Clara, noticing Sarah's stunned silence, tried to justify their decision with a wave of her hand. "Look, Mum, it's for the best," she said, her voice laced with false sympathy. "This flat is just too small for the 3 of us and Lily. Besides," she added, looking around the sleek, minimalist apartment, your rural ways just don't fit in here." The insult was clear. Sarah's lifetime of hard work, her connection to the land, her very identity was being dismissed as incompatible. Clara then painted a picture of the nursing home, describing it as a kind of retirement paradise. "It has big rooms, you know, and you'll make a whole new circle of friends your own age. You'll be much happier there." Every word was a calculated blow, designed to make their cruel decision seem like an act of kindness. But Sarah wasn't fooled. She saw it for what it was, a convenient excuse to get rid of her. The irony was crushing. After her husband's death in a factory accident, she had worked tirelessly. She'd scrubbed floors, cooked in a diner, and took in sewing late into the night. All of it was for Mark, to ensure he wouldn't face the same struggles she did. He excelled in his studies, went to a good university, and landed a high-paying job. He'd gotten a leg up from one of his late father's old colleagues, a kindness from the past that had secured his future. And what had Mark done with that success? He'd used it to buy a flat where his own mother was deemed an inconvenience. He'd forgotten the calloused hands that fed him, the sleepless nights she'd spent worrying about him. He had forgotten everything. It all happened so fast. Just a few weeks ago, Mark and Clara had driven out to her village home, the house where Mark grew up, the house filled with memories of his father. They were so charming, so persuasive. "Mom, the city is where you should be. With us, with your granddaughter," they'd said. They spoke of selling her large house, promising the money would secure a comfortable future for everyone. Sarah had been hesitant. That house was her sanctuary, her last connection to her husband. But the thought of being with her family, of watching Lily grow up, was a powerful lure. So, with a heavy heart, she had agreed. She packed her life into a few small boxes, leaving behind her garden, her neighbors, and the only home she'd known for 40 years. The first few days were a blur of adjustment. The city noise, the cramped space, the unfamiliar routines. Sarah tried her best to adapt, to be helpful, to not be a burden. But within a week, the atmosphere shifted. Mark and Clara's warm welcomes turned into cold indifference. Her cooking was criticized, her habits were mocked, and her presence was treated as an intrusion. They spoke over her as if she wasn't there, their whispers and sideways glances setting the stage for the final, devastating announcement. She was a guest in her son's home, and her welcome had expired. The day came. The drive to the nursing home was silent and tense. Sarah looked out the window, watching the city blur past, feeling completely detached, as if this were happening to someone else. A young attendant greeted them with a professional smile and showed Sarah to her room. It was clean, sterile. 2 beds, a small private bathroom, and a window that overlooked a manicured lawn. The attendant explained the daily schedule, the meal times, the activities. Sarah just nodded. Her voice lost somewhere in the hollow space in her chest. She was compliant, a ghost moving through the motions of her own disposal. That evening, in the communal dining hall, a woman with sharp, intelligent eyes introduced herself. Her name was Eleanor, a retired lawyer who had chosen to move into the home herself. The food's not 5-star, but the peace and quiet is priceless, she said with a wry smile. Eleanor spoke of her own life, her decision to live independently without being a burden or being burdened. She saw the deep sadness in Sarah's eyes and offered a listening ear. For the first time in weeks, Sarah felt a flicker of warmth, a small connection in her new sterile world. Eleanor's pragmatic and cheerful acceptance of her own situation helped ease some of the suffocating anxiety that had gripped Sarah. Inspired by Eleanor's strength, a new idea began to form in Sarah's mind. It wasn't about sadness anymore. It was about justice. With Eleanor's guidance, Sarah consulted a lawyer. The plan was simple, secret, and swift. The large village house, the one Mark and Clara were so eager to sell, was still in her name. In a single, decisive move, Sarah signed the papers to donate the entire property to the non-profit organization that ran the nursing home. It was a massive contribution, one that instantly changed her status from a resident to a major benefactor. She wasn't just a resident anymore. She was patona a week later. Mark arrived, beaming, a folder full of sale documents tucked under his arm. He found his mother sitting in a plush armchair in the main lounge, sipping tea. "Mum, great news. I've got the buyer's offer. We just need your signature," he said, pulling out the papers. Sarah looked at him, her gaze steady and cold. "Mark," she began, her voice clear and strong, "your night to enjoy is over. I've already changed my permanent address to this one." She paused, letting the words sink in. "I have donated the house to this establishment. As of this morning, I am a 50% owner of this nursing home. So please, take your papers and don't visit me again." Mark and Clara stood frozen, their faces a mask of disbelief and dawning horror. The easy profit, the final step in their neat little plan, had just vanished into thin air. Sarah stood up, her posture straighter than it had been in years. The humiliated woman they had dropped off at the door a week ago was gone. In her place stood a woman in control of her own destiny. She turned her back on their stunned faces and walked away, not with sadness, but with the quiet, unshakable dignity of someone who had reclaimed her power. She had turned their ultimate act of disrespect into her ultimate triumph. What do you think of Sarah's decision? Did she do the right thing? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.